In light of National Patriots and Veterans Month, President Yoon Suk-yeol on Friday stressed the importance of national security and vowed appropriate compensation for those who made sacrifices for the nation. The Trump administration has hinted of extending its pause on reciprocal tariffs past July 9th, though the final call is still up to President Donald Trump. And South Korean Netflix series Squid Game has returned for its third and final season. The finale, comprised of 6 episodes, is now available worldwide. President Yoon Suk-yeol invited National Merit recipients and their families to the former presidential office site to take the time to reiterate his words of gratitude to the country's patriots for their selfless service. Our top office correspondent Song Yujin starts us off.
2 days after the 75th anniversary of the Korean War, President Lee Jae-myung hosted a lunch on Friday to mark National Patriots and Veterans Month. 160 guests, including recipients of National Merit and their families, were invited to Cheong Wa Dae, the site of the former presidential office.
일제치하의 독립운동, 그리고 6.25 전쟁, 4.19 혁명, 월남전, 5.18 민주화운동, 서해 수호의 역사를 통해서 오늘의 대한민국이 있습니다.
President Lee introduced some of the honorees by name and asked for a round of applause in recognition of their sacrifices. At the heart of his speech was a pledge to better honor and repay their service, which he says has been far too neglected until now.
우리 국가 공동체의 존속 그리고 우리 국가 구성원들의 더 나은 삶과 안전, 생명을 위해서 희생하신 것에 대해서는 우리 국가 공동체 구성원 모두가 특별한 관심과 애정으로 상응하는 보상을 하고 예우해야.
This is something President Lee pledged during his candidacy, promising to review and improve compensation and medical care for those who have helped safeguard the nation as well as their families. The menu included dishes prepared with abalone, crabs, and short ribs. The presidential office says Friday's event was to express gratitude and respect by providing the highest honors to those who gave everything to protect their country. Song Yujin, Arirang News.
Also on Friday, the National Assembly filled vacant leadership posts of standing committees, including the chairs of the Budget and Judiciary Committees, both of which remain under the ruling Democratic Party's control. Our political correspondent Shin Ha-young reports.
Amid a bipartisan deadlock over the redistribution of standing committee chairs, the ruling Democratic Party unilaterally filled 4 of 5 vacant posts in a plenary session on Friday. The chair positions at the Budget and Accounts, Legislation and Judiciary, House Steering, Culture, Sports and Tourism, and Strategy and Finance committees were vacant. Of these, 4 positions, excluding the Strategy and Finance Committee, were filled by DP lawmakers, maintaining the party's control over them from the past year. 3-term DP lawmaker Han Byung-do was appointed chair of the Special Committee on Budget and Accounts and will lead the review of the supplementary budget proposal. 4-term DP lawmaker Lee Chun-seok was named chair of the Legislation and Judiciary Committee. The main opposition People Power Party walked out of the session as it had been calling for a rebalancing of the committee's leadership, arguing that the shift in government following the recent snap presidential election justified the change. The PPP insisted it should hold the chairs of the Judiciary and Budget committees to provide checks and balances on the ruling party.
The supplementary budget is an important issue, so the PPP is willing to cooperate to quickly elect a new budget committee chair. For the other committee chairs, we believe more talks are needed to restore cooperation and bring back the National Assembly's tradition of checks and balances.
The Democratic Party, however, has maintained that the current arrangement should remain, citing last year's agreement between the two parties on a 2-year term for committee chairs.
The People Power Party is delaying the Prime Minister's confirmation and budget review over the Legislative and Judiciary Committee chair. Don't they see people are struggling with a sluggish economy? Shouldn't they help the new government get to work?
With the Budget and Accounts Special Committee chair now in place, the review of the supplementary budget proposal is expected to gain momentum. 신하영, Arirang News.
Defense Minister nominee An Gyu-baek will consider restoring the suspended September 19th military agreement between the two Koreas. Addressing members of the media on Friday ahead of his confirmation hearing, An said South Korea should first seek civil-level exchanges with North Korea and then advance to restoring the military accord to ensure peace on the peninsula. When asked about his potential approach to the Trump administration, An spoke of adopting a proactive, positive posture based on national interest. Meanwhile, Vice Defense Minister Lee Do-hee, during his inauguration ceremony, reaffirmed the importance of a practical approach. He said the military here must seek practical cooperation to boost deterrence based on the Iraq-U.S. alliance and to defend national interests. The Unification Ministry has urged Pyongyang to inform Seoul in advance of any intention to discharge water from a dam across the border, making note of past agreements between the two Koreas to fight flash flooding during the monsoon season. The ministry emphasized that early notification would serve to prevent accidents arising from sudden surges in water levels of the Imjingang River that flows from the north to the south. Back in 2009, an unannounced release of water from North Korea's Hwanggang Dam near the border resulted in the loss of 6 South Korean lives. The Trump administration's July deadline for country-specific tariffs may be extended, but its auto-related tariffs are also set to be expanded. Our Lee Seung-ja has the details.
Washington could extend its pause on reciprocal tariffs, which is set to expire next month. According to White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt on Thursday, the pause could be extended, but added that it's a decision for the president to make. The comments come as the temporary suspension of reciprocal tariffs, including 25% duties on South Korea, is set to expire on July 8th. In April, U.S. President Donald Trump announced the reciprocal tariffs to match those of other countries on U.S. goods. While the tariffs took effect on April 9th, Trump pressed the brakes on his plans for 90 days to allow for negotiations. Earlier this month, the U.S. president expressed his openness to extend the pause, but said that an extension might not be necessary. Meanwhile, Washington has begun a process to include more auto parts imported into the U.S. on the list of those subject to 25% tariffs. The U.S. Commerce Department's International Trade Administration on Thursday released its outlined process, where U.S. domestic producers may request additional auto parts to be included in the new tariff scheme. To receive the request from the domestic producers, the ITA is forming 2-week submission windows 4 times a year, with the first window opening on July 1st. Following the 2-week window, a non-confidential version of each valid request will be published, with the ITA making the final decision within 60 days of receiving the request. The move is expected to affect South Korea's auto parts industry. Earlier this year, Trump invoked Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, which grants the president the power to adjust imports into the U.S. when determined they threaten to impair national security. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Then where is this tariff delay coming from? Is the White House under pressure? And will South Korea be better positioned under the possible postponement? Our correspondent Kim Do-yeon explains.
The White House's comment on the tariff negotiation deadline comes after other recent signs that the possibility of a deadline delay was looming. White House economic advisor Stephen Myron had also said on Thursday local time that he thinks the tariff deadlines will likely be extended for countries that are making a genuine effort to negotiate trade deals with the U.S. He said that in such cases, he doesn't expect tariff rates to suddenly increase. Experts say this shows that things aren't going the way the U.S. expected when it comes to tariff negotiations.
Trump is in a tough spot. Things aren't going his way, especially on trade. Negotiations aren't producing the results he wanted, with tax policy issues in his hands as well. In terms of trade, nothing is working as he thought.
So far, the UK is the only country to have concluded its trade talks. South Korea, meanwhile, dispatched Trade Minister Yo Hong-gu to Washington this week for high-level discussions, but no breakthrough has been announced. Observers say the delays could actually work in favor of the negotiating countries.
As the U.S. midterm elections approach, November next year, Washington's leverage weakens. That makes it more desperate to produce a deal it can sell to voters as a win, meaning it's giving off signals that it needs the deal more than the others do.
Analysts also argue that if the U.S. were confident about its position, it would have gone ahead with the reciprocal tariffs already announced earlier this year, rather than signaling a possible extension.
Trump has two options: stick to the July 9 deadline and enforce reciprocal tariffs, or postpone them. But if the U.S. slaps on tariffs, prices on imported goods rise, and that could hurt American consumers. So instead, it's backing off.
Still, the White House isn't ruling anything out. The spokesperson also said President Trump could still opt for reciprocal tariffs if he believes they serve U.S. interests and benefit American workers. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
It is a Friday, which means it's time for Arts and Culture. We have our culture correspondent, Choi Soo-young, here in the studio. Welcome back, Soo-young.
Happy to be back here, Dami.
So I know today what you have for us, the return of Squid Game, right?
Yes, Dami, absolutely. About a few hours ago, finally, Squid Game has returned to the world with its final season. This Netflix original series is considered as one of the most successful K-content of all time. So I bring the key highlights of Season 3's storyline. Let's take a look. In Season 2, Song Gi-hoon joined the game again, but failed to foment a rebellion and even lost his best friend. His fate is now decided in Season 3.
Gi-hoon changes and makes up his mind. This is what I can do, and decides to take action based on that belief.
The conflicts and stories of the main characters push to the edge between life and death are key points to watch. In particular, many viewers have been looking forward to the showdown between Gi-hoon and the frontman Hwang In-ho, the surprise central figure of Season 2.
All the characters' interactions and stories will finally explode in Season 3, so I believe it makes up for any disappointments from Season 2.
Season 3 centers on the clash of values between Gi-hoon and the frontman, Hwang In-ho, individual survival or collective cooperation. This ideological conflict began to take shape in Season 2, and how this conflict ends is a key point to watch.
In Season 3, new Korean games that were not featured in previous seasons are introduced in the survival game. Moreover, beyond survival, a key point to watch is how unique Korean emotions and culture in Squid Game make it stand out.
Season 2 also introduced many new games. But in Season 3, what's more important is how the characters' personal stories unfold and what message they ultimately deliver. The key point is how much emotional impact those stories and each characters can create.
The 6-episode season was released all at once on June 27th at 4 p.m. Korean Standard Time. With Season 3, Squid Game has begun its final dance, bringing a 4-year-long journey to an end.
You know, it's only been a few hours since the final season has been released, but I do have to say some people said the past season, Season 2, felt, you know, maybe slow and even drawn out. Will Season 3 be any different, Young?
Yeah, right. Season 2 and 3 depart from Season 1's storyline, with Season 2 serving mainly to expand the universe. But season 3 moves at a faster pace, bringing the story to a conclusion. So many viewers criticized the previous season's too slow pacing, but such criticism may overlook the features of drama formats. But films are much more compact and symbolic, requiring tight storytelling within around 2 hours. But dramas allow space for people to feel emotional depth and cultural context within many episodes and seasons. So the professor said, if season 3 delivers the emotional payoff season 2 was building toward, its extended narrative is justified.
You know, Squid Game has come a long way because it does retain strong Korean cultural elements. Does season 3 do the same?
Yes, absolutely. As you know, the traditional Korean game in the survival scene sparked a global reaction in earlier seasons. But in season 3, director Hwang has also hinted at new unrevealed game not shown in the trailers, further raising anticipation. Experts has also pointed out a unique aspects of Squid Game as emotional depth rarely seen in typical survival formats. Unlike most survival movies that focus solely on individual skills and competition, Squid Game includes the themes of family, friendship, community, and humanism. These melodramatic, emotionally charged elements played a key role in its explosive global appeal. Viewers can expect season 3 to continue emphasizing this distinct blend of Korean sentiment and emotional catharsis.
Definitely. Well, Si-hyung, I'm afraid to say this will be the last season, right?
Yes, unfortunately, yes, Tommy. Director Hwang has confirmed that Squid Game will end with season 3, but for now, he has no plan for another season, but
who knows?
Who knows? Nothing is certain yet. So there's still some stories to explore more, like on the frontman Hwang In-ho's story or the game system itself. So it would be surprising if Squid Game expands into new extra series through future spin-offs.
Well, I will be spending my weekend to binge watch the final season, and let me be the judge, and I'll get back to you. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And 2 South Korean films have been included in the list 100 greatest films of the 21st century. The New York Times announced a list on Thursday, and Park Chan-wook's 2005 film Oldboy was ranked 43rd, while the 2003 film Memories of Murder, directed by Bong Joon-ho, was ranked 99th. The newspaper stated that Oldboy portrayed operatic violence as a twisted thriller, while Memories of Murder gave the perspective on human limits against incomprehensible evil through unexpected humor. Also notable is Korean-Canadian director Celine Song's 2023 film Past Lives, ranking 86th, which unfolds a story of love, fate, and time between New York and Seoul. The ranking was compiled from 500 renowned directors, producers, and actors. And the list includes movies that were released after January 1st, 2000. The New York Times released a list this week and will be releasing the top 20 later on Friday, local time. Let us now move from the screen to the stage. A talented teenage composer is seeking to blur the boundaries between traditional Korean musical instruments and contemporary musical compositions. Our Lee has the story.
19-year-old classical music composer Hanurij has unveiled his first traditional Korean music piece. He won the Bartók World Competition in Hungary when he was just 18. This young talent has also written a commissioned piece for pianist Lee Myun-chan, the youngest ever winner of the Van Cliburn International Piano Competition at just 18 years old in 2022. Now Lee has entered a completely new territory by composing his first piece for Korean traditional orchestra, a bold step that bridges tradition and modernity and breaks down the walls between Korean and Western music. The opportunity came when conductor Choi Soo-yeol, currently serving as the principal guest conductor of the Seoul Metropolitan Traditional Orchestra, invited Lee to write a piece. Choi describes the Korean Traditional Orchestra as a branch of contemporary music, a special genre that allows us to express the present through ancient instruments. Hanurij's debut in the genre came to life through the Seoul Metropolitan Traditional Orchestra's concert, filling the Sejong Center for the Performing Arts on Thursday night with the richly layered and resonant sounds of kugak, Korea's traditional music. In an interview with representatives from the Sejong Center, Lee described his piece as an attempt to construct an entirely different kind of sentence using the vocabulary of kugak, one that unfolds loosely, hazily, without clear peaks or dramatic climaxes. Hanurij, premiering his work Unselected Ambient Loops 2525, his debut composition for a Korean traditional orchestra, experimentally explores the unique tones and sonic possibilities of traditional instruments. Quoting him, in this piece the loop functions more like a memory, fading, warping, and merging into new contexts yet never entirely vanishing. As pianist Lee Myun-chan puts it, he's one of the most outstanding composers of our time. The future of the music world isn't just bright, it's dynamically unpredictable. 이은희, Arirang News.
There's rain forecasts all over the country again. Starting with the center parts of the country tomorrow morning, the monsoon rain will spread further south in the afternoon. Some center areas will continue to have this rain until Sunday morning. Looking at the rainfall, up to 40 millimeters of the rain will fall in the center areas and up to 60 millimeters in the south. The intensity of the rain will not be strong, but it will be accompanied by gusty winds and lightning around the southern parts of the country. Tomorrow morning will start warm with high humidity at 21 to 24 degrees Celsius across the country. Highs move up to 28 degrees in Seoul, Chuncheon, and Busan, 34 degrees in Daegu and Gyeongju. More rain is expected in the Seoul metropolitan area and western parts of Gangwon-do province early next week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. For all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.